Right, back with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. Public Works Deputy Minister Sihle Zikalala says the government is reclaiming hijacked buildings in an effort to curb high crime levels. Zikalala led the drive in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape today to evict those who have occupied government buildings illegally. The Deputy Minister joins us now to articulate a little bit more on the plan that they are putting in place to reclaim what is theirs, and this time being, of course, government buildings. Deputy Minister, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. It was, of course, a project, as I put it, to reclaim government buildings in particular under strict parameters, of course, which we know in the country govern what would be evictions or unlawful occupation, the Land Act 19 of 1998. 82 properties, you're saying, going through legal channels, 57 eviction orders, 21 evaluated and recommended for execution. So how many did you actually issue out today?
No, thanks, and thanks for having us in your program. Of course, today we effected 2 eviction orders, but this is in addition to what the MEC have started last week. It will be remembered that early this year, as the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, we launched the program of Operation Bring Back. Operation Bring Back is about reclaiming all state assets, whether it's buildings or land, that have been illegally occupied or taken by individuals. We have managed to identify a number of that. 82 applications for eviction orders have been made, and we are now effecting the eviction orders. 27 have been granted, so we are working on that right now.
What are the complexities within the legal framework that you are confronted with as you carry out these eviction orders?
Well, the first is the question of ensuring that we identify those buildings accurately and be able to map them and present our case in court, ensure that the court understands and they see the location and everything. However, that is always compounded by collusion between sometimes lawyers with individuals who are around, and you find that some of the lawyers that are representing these individuals will go all out to try and defend them, yet they know that these are illegally occupied. You will get these people who initiate these, who are ringleaders, allocating and subletting these properties, which means they generate income out of the government property. We are reclaiming all of them. We're not going to also keep them redundant, but we are going to put them in what we call asset optimization strategy, where we will develop and remold them for the government use, allocate government departments, and others we will then let them to the private sector so that we are able to generate revenue for the private sector to invest, develop them, run them, and then they will be able to pay government the rental fees.
So what happened at the Mdluli office precinct? Because I believe initially it was run by government. Government had full control of that precinct. What happened? How did government lose control of the precinct?
Well, you get the precinct, a number of departments working from that precinct. One department will just leave and go to another property. If it leaves, it then leaves the space and don't report. And another will leave, and you end up having the whole area illegally occupied because departments just leave. Either they relocate or they get other properties. Then they create space because they don't report to public works and hand over those buildings to public works.
Sure. So what does that say about our processes? I mean, is that how it's done? Is that the process? The department can choose at any given point in time to say, we're no longer happy with this building, we want to move to other buildings. I'm sure there must be a process of applying to Public Works to do that.
There is a process, but you find that in some cases, other departments would say, we no longer need to provide the service in this area, and we are relocating to another area. As a result of that, there will be a vacancy created in that particular building.
Yeah.
But we are tightening coordination with the departments. We want to ensure that the concept of precinct is escalated to all districts and government work together, get coordinated, and they provide services from one precinct.
So, Deputy Minister, I heard you emphatically emphasizing to the illegal occupiers that, one, they are occupying illegally, two, that they are paying rent to an illegal human being or business or whatever entity that they are paying to, three, they need to get into an agreement with government to be properly regulated. So, first question would have been, are the occupants willing to disclose where they are paying their rent, criminally so?
Well, in most cases, they are scared to disclose and they don't want to come up front. But we are, through our investigation, we have been able to identify in all of these cases the ringleaders where people are paying rent. But for us now, it is to evict these people and ensure that those who want to remain have direct agreement and contractual agreement with the department so that they will pay to the government.
And so far, are those businesses that you were speaking to willing to do that?
Yes, they've showed cooperation and willingness. We believe that as we go through these 14 days after the order has been delivered, we believe that most of them will sign the lease agreement with government, and then they will lease properly, then paying to individuals who are criminals in Israel.
So as you are sitting now, Deputy Minister, and your department, you've been conducting these audits, be it in Gauteng, in the city of Johannesburg, with it in Tshwane, you're in Cape Town not so long ago. Some work was done in KwaZulu-Natal, you're in the Eastern Cape now. What are you beginning to learn around the area of enforcement, around the area of protection of these buildings? Because it does seem to me that at some point local authorities have got no ability to enforce their own bylaws.
That is a valid point. You find that local municipalities will not be unable to enforce their own bylaws. But in this process, we must build the capacity, the technical capacity to ensure that all government buildings are properly located as well as mapped. And then we must go to a point where we digitize these records so that we will have a complete or a comprehensive record book where we know that these are properties per each town, per each district. That will help also to ensure that we are in constant process of monitoring the operations that are happening in those buildings.
And to what extent are you then going to be collaborating with the province on that score? Because, I mean, you're saying in your statement 36 evictions should be done by 2024-2025 financial year. You already have 27 allowed to execute there. What does that really mean? And do you think that is an achievable target?
It is an achievable target if you look on Eastern Cape, especially in Mthatha, but we are going to move to other areas in Eastern Cape and in the whole country. We are working with the province as we were there, and I indicated earlier, MEC for Public Works and Human Settlement MEC Lucity has been there, and she is working on this program on a full-time basis. And that's why we are saying, let us work through the DDM approach, where we will work with the national department, the provincial departments, the municipalities, so that we are all together, and that helps to expedite the process.
And at this particular point, I mean, from where you sit, what is the work that lawmakers need to do now? I mean, many are looking at this situation still, as I quoted earlier, the Prevention of Illegal Eviction from and Unlawful Occupation of Land Act of 1998 seems to many to favor the occupants more than the landowners themselves. And others have been saying there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that legal framework.
Quite correct. And I think the Department of Human Settlement has been trying to ensure that we engage in a process to review this act, but also the judgment that came from the court that you can't just remove people without following processes. And that has been a problem, favoring illegal occupants instead of tenants. Now, we have to work through the court, hence we've gone through a court application, and we've got the eviction orders. And that's what we're going to do in all areas. But after taking over these buildings, we must ensure that they are protected. But we must also ensure that those who have been benefiting illegally are prosecuted. Now, this collaboration will be necessary between ourselves and law enforcement agencies.
What is the state of the building, safety-wise? Because part of the things that emerge around these issues, even now we are dealing, although it's a private building, with the question of safety and hazardous state of these buildings.
Well, the buildings we visited are in not bad conditions. I would say fair conditions where people can work, but they need to be improved. So health-wise, I think they are also in a fair condition. Then we need to ensure that as we take them back, we are able to ensure that we work either through ourselves as the department to revamp them, ensure they are renovated, so that those who work in those buildings will work in conducive environment.
So you've given them 14 days. What is the responsibility of the occupants? What is the responsibility of the local government there in these 14 days? And what needs to happen after those 14 days?
The occupants need to come come in front and sign the lease agreement with the department. We have the district offices that are in charge of that process. That is what they are expected to do. The local government must work with us as they were there, collaborate with us to ensure that these eviction orders are enforced in cases where people don't come and sign lease agreement with the department.
Deputy Minister, let's leave it there. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and joining us.
Thank you, and thanks for having us.
As Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure there, Sihle Zikalala. Operation Bring Back, overseeing the reclaiming of government buildings in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape.